So hi, everybody. My name is Ellen Pensky, and on behalf of Packet Fusion, I want to welcome you to today's Packet Fusion Lunch and Learn Roundtable. And it's sponsored by Dialpad. And what we're calling it is what you need to know about UCaaS in 2021. But for those of you who don't know Dialpad, they are the leading cloud communications platform for AI-powered calling, conferencing, and contact centers. And we're delighted to have the Dialpad team join us today. We're going to have a lively roundtable discussion with Dialpad's founder and CEO, Craig Walker, and Packet Fusion CEO, Matt Pingator, as they explore the latest trends in cloud enterprise communications, Teams integrations, Dialpad's recent acquisitions and partnerships, and probably a lot more. As you can tell from early on, these two go way back. So we're excited to hear what they're going to be talking about. And as a special bonus, we're delighted to provide a product demonstration from Dialpad's Director of Sales Engineering, Jeff Reimer. And we want to make sure that you guys do ask questions. So along the way, we're going to have polling questions, lots of times for you to ask, and you can put your questions in Q&A. So let me introduce our speakers. First off is Matt Pingator, and Matt is recognized in the industry as a visionary, and he's known for his 100% customer-first perspective. He's seen Packet Fusion through many transitions and has adapted and pivoted with the times by staying on top of emerging technologies and talking about how they'll shape the future. He not only knows how to talk technical, but he understands technology. And joining him today is Craig Walker. Craig brings over 20 years of experience as an entrepreneur, a venture capitalist, a corporate executive, attorney, and CEO at various Silicon Valley companies. Craig is the founder and CEO of Dialpad. Previously, he was founder and CEO of Grand Central Communications, now Google Voice, and prior to that, he ran Yahoo Voice as a senior director of voice over IP at Yahoo. And now let me introduce Jeff Reimer. Jeff's going to do our demonstration today, and Jeff is the Director of Sales Engineering at Dialpad. He's got experience in every aspect of unified communications, from pre-sales design to implementation and support. He held previous sales engineering and solution architect roles at Nortel, Avaya, Poly, and Fuse. And he is passionate about helping enterprises transform their communications platforms.
Alan, thanks for starting that out. So we were kind of hamming it up, Craig and I, to start with. And I remember being in your office, Craig, and you were talking about this like zero touch provisioning. Like, we just send the phone down and it just plugs in. And I'm like, get out of here. It doesn't do that. You're like, watch. And you like unbox the phone. I was just like mind blown over like what I'd been used to and what I had to do these, even the cloud-based phones that I was dealing with. And, you know, this was the most minuscule thing that was like revolutionary. You guys have done so much since then. And I just, you know, love you guys are like definitely in front of the curve. And everybody, in my eyes, is playing catch up with you guys in so many aspects. And I think we're going to get into a bunch of them today. But what we'd love to get out of you is, you know, where things are going, what things are important to people. We'll talk a little bit, because it's an overplayed topic, work at home, coming back, hybrid, how you've empowered that. We all want to hear that. Yeah. But we want to hear bigger trends, bigger picture things, what's going on in the world. And I think a lot of that starts with your history of who you are and how you got there. Jeff, you want to advance the slide, and then how you got there. So this is your show. I'm going to kind of just pepper you with some questions along the way if we need to. But Craig, I'd love to hear a little history of what you guys do, where you come from, how you approach things differently than everybody else, and why you guys are so successful.
That sounds great. Thanks, Matt, and thanks, Packet Fusion. You guys have been great partners for a long time. So yeah, nice to meet you all. My name is Craig Walker. Let me tell you, I have a couple slides here on Dialpad, but it's a little bit of a background. I was running the product, Google Voice, consumer product at Google back in 2007 to 2010. And prior to that, Yahoo Voice, another consumer product. And really, you know, like coming from the consumer side, there's not going to be an IT team. There's not going to be anyone to explain things to you. It's got to be easy. It's got to be useful. It's got to be delightful. And when we were at Google in about 2010, we looked at the enterprise space. We're like, you know, enterprise phone systems are none of those things. They're not easy. They're not delightful. They're not intuitive. And we really realized, look, the we have this telephony and platform and skill in making and connecting high quality phone calls and doing neat features and things. We should apply that to the business case and to the business world. And, like we all, all of our businesses are built around this, but there's just so much legacy on-prem type products out there that legitimately we figured, look, we need to create a world where we can instantly provision, like signing up for a phone system should be like signing up for Gmail, right? Like you put in your credentials, boom, it just works. And that's what Google Voice did. And that's what we tried to bring to Dialpad. So my co-founders, I don't know, maybe advance to the next slide. I can give you a little bit of a history. What we look at is we have this platform, and one of the nice things about being late to the game of enterprise voice, we didn't launch our first product until 2012, but by being late to the game compared to Ring or 8x8 or Vonage or Fuse, is you're able to build on a more modern platform and build for a different world. And so what we didn't want to do is just replace, an Avaya or a Cisco system with something that seemed exactly like an Avaya or a Cisco system, just happened to be hosted in our cloud versus your closet. What we wanted to do is really kind of focus on what we thought the future work was going to be. And we thought it was going to be mobile. We thought it was going to be cloud-based. We thought it was going to integrate with a whole bunch of other cloud-based systems. We thought it was going to be, location independent. You didn't need to go sit at your office to be able to use your desk phone. It just had to be simple and easy to use and really bring that consumer stuff. So when we rebuilt the Google or the platform that we had originally built at Google, we came up with this thing called the split cloud architecture, where all of the brains and all of the logic and all the history and all of the routing and all of the contact information, everything, all the intelligence lives in the Google Cloud. So it's entirely secure, it's entirely limitless scale, totally redundant. It'll never effectively, knock on wood, Google Cloud's been really good at not ever having an outage. But then the audio, we didn't want being virtualized and going through the cloud, so we call it split cloud. So the brains are in the cloud, but we have this terrestrial network, if you will, of our soft switches in Equinix facilities all around the world, connected by MPLS private backbone. So a call comes in and it's totally dumb network, asks Google Cloud, what do we do with this call? And then it goes and routes it to give you the best quality possible. And giving that modern platform, we're able to now do conferencing, video conferencing, phone system, full UCaaS. We've been doing UCaaS since 2015. And then in 2018, we launched our CCaaS product. And then across all of those, we apply real-time artificial intelligence, which I'll get to in just a bit.
I think you're actually even glossing over because, just coming from my background, seeing these monolithic architectures of premise, and then people taking those monolithic premise architecture and try to put it into the cloud and now calling it cloud, it worked, right? The sausage, how they make the sausage in the sausage factory, really no one cares, but they should care, because how you guys deliver your architecture, to me, is where everybody's trying to get to. And maybe some guys have kind of caught up, but you guys got there 10 years ago, being in these hyperscalers, ultra distributed microservices, the agile architecture. It's just, you guys were there way before everybody else. Everybody else is trying to take their second, third generation architecture and make it that. And they're having some challenges. And to me, it allows you guys to come out with these feature sets, these international dialing pads, these new locations, buying companies, plugging them in, coming out with contact center overnight. Just, if you had this old architecture that everybody else is dealing, even the guys that are the leaders have old baggage that they have to deal with. And it seems, I'm sure everybody's got technical debt everywhere, but don't tell us what it is. But it seems like you guys are further along in that aspect. Is that a...
Yeah, that's totally accurate. And that's how we built it. When you launch a product at Google, it theoretically has to scale to 100 million users day one, because you never know what the demand is going to be. And legitimately, it had to be seamless. And there'd be times we'd go to lunch and you'd come back and 100,000 people had signed up, started using the product while you were at lunch, right? It was just that type of a scale. And so when we're, we were taught, Uber was a big, great customer, early customer of ours, and they were just expanding all over the globe, every city, all over the planet, South Africa, Asia, Europe, Latin America, and they were doing that all on their own. They never came to us. at the end of the month, we'd send them a new bill. We're like, oh, wow, they added 700 seats last month in, you know, like Eastern Europe. And it's like, all right, great. That's fantastic. They didn't even need to talk to us. And so that is kind of the way we were built from day one. And you're right. It allows us, we do weekly pushes. We add new features all the time. We're, you know, when we acquired Talk IQ or we acquired High Five, they were also microservices built on the Google Cloud. It was like literally an instant integration. So it really does give a wonderful advantage, and particularly in the deployment, you know, having your own customers being able to deploy their own stuff worldwide. Another example was Gate Gourmet, the guys who put the food on airplanes all around the world. We went down to Los Angeles at LAX and set them up and trained them how to do it. They did every other single airport on the planet that they serve themselves. So yeah, it's a wonderful advantage, and it just lets you, we don't have to build anything for new customers.
Right.
It's
crazy.
Scalable. There's no provisioning.
Does Google still own a bit of you guys?
Yeah, so Google led our Series A investment, so they own about 10% of the company.
Right. And again, I know we've talked about this. You guys definitely employ the hybrid cloud. You're all Google, but you do some stuff in AWS. And we were thinking about that. I forget how that was looking. I forget. What were we doing there? Yeah,
so High Five, the video conferencing company we acquired last year, they were Google Cloud and AWS. So we now have some AWS too.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is, you know, all the clouds are pretty darn good, right? Like we were familiar with Google, but it can go into any cloud. It's pretty simple that way.
And I remember, you know, from the start, and I don't want to use the word pigeonhole, but you guys started as the Google experts, and you really gravitated to, I don't want to say non-Microsoft customers, but you were the golden childs of G Suite. If they had G Suite, you went Dialpad.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of else caught up, but you guys are still going on with that. But your Google integration, to me, with the contacts integration, with the dialing integration, all the stuff that you guys do is still better than everybody else that has maybe caught up, but you're still way. Is that a fair statement on the Google side still?
I think that's fair. And we started, you know, we started focused on the G Suite user because we figured a customer that was on G Suite understood and valued modern. I tend to look at G Suite as more modern than Microsoft, right? So if you were on G Suite, you kind of had, you had moved off of an on-premise exchange by definition, right? And this was before Office 365 existed. So the only cloud-based email suite at the time was G Suite. So if you've moved your email to the cloud, that told me you were probably a pretty forward-thinking CIO and you were willing to move your voice to the cloud. And we're talking like 2012. So, you know, this moving your enterprise voice to the cloud was still a bit of a stretch back then. So it was a good early indicator that.
Well, I also heard an interesting one about Google, that these enterprises that are all in on Google, the last application in their whole stack that hasn't been moved to the cloud is voice, because Google didn't offer a good voice, because their Google voice was more consumer. It never got business grade. It just never got there. Exactly. And so you guys come along, we're like, hey, look, we can take it off. You're still in Google, and nice little value play there. But that kind of ran its course, and you're now forced isn't the right word, but you guys as business presented itself, started to get into the Microsoft ecosystem. And we're going to talk about even greater Microsoft ecosystem with the Teams integration, but you did the Microsoft Office integration 3-4 years ago. And that integration has been really good to you guys too.
Yeah, for sure. Once they moved to Office 365, and again, like our thinking was, if a CIO hasn't moved his email to the cloud, he's not going to move his voice to the cloud. But if he has, then it's a good indication that he's probably open to moving the voice to the cloud. So once they went with Office 365, we built the same integration with them. Single sign-on. When you and I talk on the phone, I get to see the last 3 emails we exchanged, documents we're working on together, upcoming calendar appointments, things like that. That all comes from the Office 365 integration. But yeah, so that's how it started. But now we're pretty darn, you know, generic. And COVID also has moved even the most legacy enterprise company to the cloud. So those super legacy buyers now have to be modern buyers. So
I mean, listen, you and I and Dialpad and Packet Fusion, this whole work at home thing has been a boom to our business, getting our premise-based customers to the cloud, and obviously you finding the premise-based customers that you need to get to the cloud. And you guys were amazing with some of my big customers. I think you lit up 2,500 people over a weekend for one of my customers because their premise-based system just failed itself, which to me is great. Awesome. You guys kicked ass, but now we almost have the same problem with everybody going back to work, right? At least on the premise side with a bunch of my customers still the same. And we also now have to start thinking about roles, responsibilities, how they work, what they do, soft phone, hard phone, all these different things we got to start thinking about. Like now it's just in reverse because everybody's going back, right? So I mean, I know maybe you guys, if you want to riff on that, I'd love to hear it. I've got a follow-up question too. So
yeah, like most of our customers, and we've surveyed all of them, and what we're doing ourselves is we just signed office space in San Francisco, San Ramon, San Jose. We're gonna have office space again, but it's gonna be much more collaborative. It's gonna be much more like we're calling it the clubhouse. You know, like marketing wants to take it for a day. You know, like the design team wants to go in and collaborate. If you don't have a great work from home environment, you can go there every single day if you want, but it's going to be hybrid, and virtually all of our customers have said it's going to be hybrid. Some roles are going to be able to work from home, some they're going to want in the office, some are going to be half in, half out. So whatever system you have has to be able to do both, right? And that's the way we've always been. Look, we have a great partnership with Poly. If you want, and that was the phone I showed you back in the day of pull it out of the box, just punch in a pin, and it ties to your account. Like that's how it should be. So we have a great partnership with Poly. If you want a desk phone at your office, you want a desk phone at your home, you want to use your cell phone, your tablet, your iPhone, your Android, look, it's up to you. We're just here to make them all work together. So I think everyone's going to need that.
I love that. So I don't know if you, Craig, if you're seeing, I'm doing polls too, but we got about 30% say they're going back full time, which is about 5 to 7% higher than most of our polls. Hybrid is way over about 55, 60%. Remote only is about 25%. These are all fluctuating, so that doesn't add up to 100 because more people are doing it. So that's about what we're finding. About half the people are saying we're doing hybrid, but only 10 to 15 are saying remote only. We're doing away with offices. And I think at a CEO to CEO perspective, we got rid of one of our offices and doing remote down in Southern California, and it's the right thing to do. People want it, and selfishly, the P&L looks a lot better because of it. People want it, so embrace it. So I'm going to end that poll. 30 seconds. You mentioned hard phone, soft phone. I can't imagine you guys seem to be getting the forward-thinking next generation customer versus the brick and mortar. You're still getting those, don't get me wrong, but I would imagine, what's the ratio of people using your soft phone versus hard phone?
Yeah, so about 25% of our seats have a desk phone, and the other 75% are software only. And then if you look at the usage, it's way more skewed towards software.
Yeah, totally. Especially this work at home thing.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, we moved. Motorola was a great example. Google brought us in there. They were going to go Google, and they got rid of 12,000 desk phones, but they kept 2,000. And the 2,000 they kept were primarily, the execs, older folks who just were more familiar with the desk phone and didn't want to switch. But
I mean, I used to say it was an age thing. And 10 years ago when I was 40, it was a 40-year-old. Now it's 50 because I'm 50. But it used to be a certain age thing. They want a soft phone and they want a hard phone. But I think this whole work at home thing, I'm almost all the older generation used to want the physical phone. I think they're over it.
Yeah.
What do you
I think they're over it. Literally everyone's bought $1,000 phone themselves that they want to use, right? Like it's for a CIO. Can you imagine that your employees are coming to you with their own $1,000 phone that they paid for themselves and saying, "Please just let me use this thing."
Right.
Yeah. No,
and here's
problem.
your app.
Yeah.
And you guys have a great mobile app. It's I love your mobile app. And so on our poll here, we got about 20% still on physical phones, 50% on soft phones, and about half of everybody uses a smart mobile phone. So because we did multiple choice. So about half of people are using the mobile smartphone app. some work better than others. I think yours works really well. Do you use it? I've seen you use it out on the golf. Did I say golf course? Never mind.
Yeah.
I've seen it in business
office,
meetings. I've seen you use it. So good. So you guys are big fans of soft phone and the mobility handset on your smartphone.
For sure. And we just announced a big partnership with T-Mobile, and we're going to start doing it. So they're reselling Dialpad under their own brand of T-Mobile Collaborate, powered by Dialpad. And part of that partnership is not just them reselling our product with their logo on it, but it's also us working with them to get deeper and deeper into their mobile network and be able for them to do the numbering, for them to do the termination, for them to do the E911, for them to do the messaging. And this is like, as you get deeper and deeper into the actual carrier's network, you can even get, hopefully one day, more and more integrated into the core applications. So it's not just a Dialpad over the top, but it would actually be the single app that comes on your phone, which could do both your personal and your work numbers.
Yeah, that was cool. I remember we were playing tennis and you were telling me about that, and it was like, that's crazy. I mean, just the boom, forget the productivity, but the boom that it could add to you guys as a corporation. This is pretty big. Oh
yeah, they have 3,000 quota carrying T-Mobile for Business sales reps, and this is their.
But I've got 7. What do you? Wait a minute. I have 7. You can't put us in the same.
Yeah, no. But you guys, any opportunity we bring to you guys first.
Well said. But literally, more on the T-Mobile. So this is cool. So you, a enterprise user, or is it more? It's enterprise. It's not the consumer side, right? I mean, you can do it if you want. But this is the enterprise rep selling to enterprises now for a fixed price, relatively inexpensive. They get your smartphone app bundled in on it, which is essentially the same DID, or is it a second DID? It's a second DID. Second DID that's for business only, and they can run their whole system on a smartphone.
Yeah, and they're pricing it really aggressively. So they have the best 5G network out there, and they're really using that, to beat up the competition. So what they're doing it for their T-Mobile for Business, $37 a month gets you unlimited business line, unlimited 5G, no pooling of data, no caps or anything. And it gives you a full Dialpad talk account, so a full UCaaS account. And it also gets you a full Uber conference account, which is our video conferencing product. So for less than what it costs for a similar just mobile line at Verizon, you now get full UCaaS, full VCaaS, and 5G. That's
crazy.
Awesome. Yeah,
that's crazy. I mean, I've always wondered why Verizon doesn't do better into that. They have their own UCaaS. They just bought. Who did they just buy?
They bought Blue Jeans.
Thank you. They just bought Blue Jeans, and they're still not where I think they should have been. And you doing this with T-Mobile, so it's what I've always thought the carriers, the cellular carriers, could just, I don't know, dominate, but they should be doing better than they are in the UCaaS world.
They sure should, but it's totally different from what they're used to, right? Like they're not software guys. They're like switches and Spectrum and handset, right, but they're not software guys. So I think it was almost a perfect partnership.
And your salespeople are a little more enterprise focused, results and driven, as opposed to, and I don't want to belittle I'm not going to go there, right? The sales reps on the carrier side, are they solving problems? They're just solving different problems that they've always solved. And then you get to now solve all these other problems that they're not used to. So I see a really good marriage there.
Yeah, it's a great marriage. And if you see this little gray thing on my back here,
yeah,
credenza, so that's a T-Mobile for Business home 5G, basically hotspot, but it's controlled by the company. So if I have my employees working from home, I can send them all one of these hotspots, and then I can know that they're going to have uncluttered or uncongested last mile connectivity, because one of the problems with everyone working from home is the cable plant's not made for everyone to be here. So now, hey, so Dialpad sends these out to all our sales reps. They have a great connectivity from home. We can manage packet prioritization for voice and video. We can block gambling and gaming and video streaming or whatever. And
for
it's
$37 a month.
And it's this pipe of high quality connection to the home. So anyway.
Yeah, when my kids are home working, they're back in school now, but when they were at home and, you know, they're Zooming and then they're talking to their friends and I gotta give a webinar, I'm like, guys, you guys got to get off. Just, you know, you guys got to stop. I'm giving a webinar here.
Yeah.
It's tough. So if I had that, I'd be in a good spot. Totally get it.
And
You know, kind of on that vein. So you've got these carriers now trying to get into the UCaaS world, and they're trying to get in the whole spectrum. You know, kind of taking that a step further. You've got these traditional collaboration guys trying to get into the, you know, phone PBX UCaaS world, and then you got these traditional phone carriers and the UCaaS guys getting in the collaboration world. Everybody seems to be having success. The rising tide lifts all ships, but I'm an old school voice guy, as are you. How did that shape your decisions and where you're taking the company? And do you think you guys adding your High Five, Uber into what you guys already have is a better way than the others kind of bolting on voice? I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, it'll sound, you know, self-serving, but I think video conferencing is pretty damn simple compared to telephony and a voice. And video conferencing assumes every single participant is coming at it over a broadband network, and there's a minimum requirement of your connectivity. But if you do that, look, it just works. It's IP, it's packets, it works really, really well. There's no, like, it's not regulated. It's not, you don't have tariffs, you don't have USF, you don't have a whole lot of these, you don't have 911, you don't have, like, there's just so many complexities that you don't have because you're not necessarily even integrating much with the PSTN. And the PSTN is this 140-year-old network. So I think from a video conferencing guy trying to say, okay, now I have all these users and I'm just going to quickly add UCaaS.
Right.
It's different DNA. I'm sure, you know, with enough money, you can hire and build anything, but it takes a long time to get all the long tail of features. And when you go out to a big enterprise, particularly an enterprise that's been on an on-premise PBX for the last 30 years, they have some legacy features that they just can't live without because it's just ingrained into how they do stuff. So you have to do stuff. You have to create call parking and intercom stuff and like the shared line appearances and work with all these different devices and things that you don't ever have to think about when it's just merging a bunch of video streams together. So I think video conferencing to me is the easiest. UCaaS is kind of middling difficult, and then CCaaS is the hardest because just gets
contact center as a service. Absolutely.
Increasing layers of complexity, increasing layers of requirements. And so I think everyone wants to get all three of those. Like 8x8 kind of has it. Ring has to partner within Contact to get their contact center because they can't build it themselves. And they used to have to partner with Zoom to get their video. And Zoom has the video. They have Zoom phones, which is still kind of to me, it's kind of a beta product. And then they partner with Five9s when they need to bring in contact center. But ultimately, everyone's going to want to have all three, right?
Yeah.
And when we were talking about the platform advantage, you know, we were, as the late entrants to the party and the smallest of all those companies, we already have all three, and we have all three with real-time AI across it.
And we're going to show it.
Which we're going to show in the demo.
I think, you know, kind of riffing on that, my prediction is, you know, voice, not that it's a resurgence, but they are still a seat at the table, and we're getting a bigger seat at the table because voice is hard. And the people are starting to realize that. Yeah. I think the collaboration world, you know, there are the teams in Zoom that have a clear advantage than everybody right now, but literally every UCaaS provider out there now has a enterprise grade collaboration engine that works. Yeah. And my prediction is everybody's collaboration is going to catch up to the Zoom teams, and it'll be good enough. Will they always have the lead? Sure. If you need the extra little wavies and the little icons and the next little, sure. But if you need business grade, enterprise grade collaboration, everybody's there, or we'll get there incredibly quick. And then now we're back down to the stuff that's really hard is the CCaaS, UCaaS. Yeah. And your UCaaS phone system is dialed in, and you're making crazy investments on your CCaaS. So love where you're going on that.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think that's exactly right. I think, you know, like the core, I don't know, call it the core 20 features of collaboration everyone's going to have it. Everyone's going to do it well. And, you know, there'll be little add-ons and stuff, but you're exactly right. It's going to be who integrates them all the best. And we really look at it as, how do we bring it all together rather than saying, oh, use Uber conferencing, use Dialpad for phone, use Dialpad contact center. We're going to smash it all together, and it's just Dialpad. And however you want to use it, just use it. And it just becomes
the world. Even there, we've done some deals, and people still want best of breed. Sometimes they say, listen, I'm not going to use you for your instant messaging or your texting and your all these different things. And you still are very open and have these hooks into everybody else. I mean, I look at this thing going on with Slack and Salesforce, which they probably spotted too late and overpaid, whatever it is. But you guys integrate with Slack, you guys integrate with Salesforce, you integrate with Microsoft, you integrate with Google. So you still listen. Everybody wants the eyeball. The eyeball wins. You want to have supreme ownership. You realize you can't do all. So you guys have these nice open APIs and plug in with everybody else. And I don't know, maybe I'm done with the conversation, but if you want to give me a second on that.
No, that's exactly right. Like, look, I think particularly when you go larger enterprises, they're going to have more of a best in breed or be willing to manage different vendors. Mid-market though, they kind of like want it all in one. And we're seeing that a lot. And we're seeing that like, hey, being able to have UCaaS and CCaaS, that's a real advantage when selling the CCaaS piece, because they're like, sweet, right. One vendor, one platform, one set of analytics, one set of administration, like perfect. That's great. But if someone wants to say, look, someone says, I'm in love with Zoom, we're not getting we signed a 5-year contract, we're not getting off it, no problem, use it. Like the rest will all work really nicely with it.
Right, I love that. And maybe, we talked about the hierarchies, the collaboration is easiest, UCaaS is the medium, and CCaaS is the hardest. You guys have, your CCaaS product has come an amazingly far way in the last 3 to 5 years. And now you guys have basically leapfrogged everybody else in one portion of it, and that's your AI.
Yeah.
Let's go there. Let's talk about that. And maybe Jeff, you can show it in a bit, but this is the coolest thing ever. Yeah. So go.
Yeah, it was interesting. 2018, started 2018, there were like 3 or 4 AI companies that were all wanting to partner with us, because the problem with the AI companies, they need to get access to phone calls, right? If they want to do the real-time AI on them.
Right. And they need to be in the middle of the stream, right? They need to be right in the middle. Like that's hard to do if you're it's hard to do if you're partnering.
It's hard to do it at an arm's length. And we went, we talked to Voicea, and we talked to Gong, we talked to Chorus,
and those Gong guys, they were charging $100 a seat to do it on Ring Central, and it was barely real time.
Yeah, it wasn't even real time.
It wasn't even real time. It was crazy.
No, they literally would get a recording after the call, transcribe it, and then do a bunch of analytics on it. And right. So I wasn't impressed with any of them. And then we met Talk IQ, which was funded by Salesforce Ventures and Scale Ventures, and they did real time. But it was harder for them because they had to go do a deep integration. And so we said, look, we'll integrate you into the core of our platform. We'll give you the feed in real time. You convert it in real time. The other advantage to that, beyond just getting real time, and then you can do real time coaching and real time sentiment and real time alerts to a supervisor and real time objection handling for a sales rep. All those things were great. The other thing was, though, now that it was built into the core of our platform, we would analyze each leg of the call independently. So it would 100% know, this is Craig Walker talking, that's Matt Pingator, that's Jeff Reimer. Versus Gong and Chorus, they get one recording at the end of it and they try to detangle and figure out who's who.
Interesting.
And they're only 50 to 70% accurate by their own argument or by their own estimation. So it's a much more accurate and much more real-time thing. So anyway, we were doing a partnership with them. Our engineers were working together. We really liked them. They thought of the world the way we thought of the world. Then we decided to buy them. And so we acquired them in May of 2018. We integrated them into our core telephony platform. So every single call gets real-time AI on it. And the beauty is now we've done over 1 billion minutes of AI phone calls, and the accuracy, it just keeps getting better and better. Like the more you use it, the better it gets. And it has dedicated, each company can create their own library, because you may have products that aren't listed in Webster's dictionary. You may have executives or competitors that aren't listed in the dictionary, and then you can track, hey, how many times did, I'll go into our sales calls and be like, how many times did Ring Central come up in the last month? And you look at it over the last, 2 years and see if it's going up or down and where it's happening. So it gives you real interesting insights to all that stuff. And it's now more accurate than Google. We compare it to Google's
Wow.
Their transcription or their AI accuracy. We're now surpassed them, and
That's cool.
Impressive. Yeah.
And I think I'll add this little bit to it as well. I remember when you talked about buying them, and then you bought them, and then you had the GA product. It was like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And it blew me away, because literally people buy companies and they just sit there and it takes forever, and they're adjunct and it's sitting over there and it never really happens. But literally, you guys bought it, integrated, which is a testament to your next generation architecture. Yeah. Obviously, smart dudes, smart people integrating together, but that's just unheard of. So kudos to you guys. Really cool stuff. What do you think? Do we want to have Jeff jump in and show it to us, and we'll come back and talk about Teams?
Yeah,
let's do that.
Take it over, Jeff.
I think people are sick of hearing us talk, and we love to watch
forever.
Mr. Reimer.
You got it. So what I'll do, let's incorporate this across the whole platform, because I know we're going to talk about Microsoft Teams. So what I'll show you is the way Dialpad integrated with Microsoft and Microsoft Teams. We did a direct routing integration with them. So rather than using third-party call to Teams type of application, our Dialpad SBCs are talking directly to Microsoft SBCs, and it's basically allowed us to utilize Teams, but we also, like in true Dialpad fashion, sprinkle VI all over the top. So as an example here, I'm sitting here in Teams. I can just go, my number is natively integrated here. I'll go ahead and place a call into Teams here. I still have a home phone, Matt, so just so you know.
How old are you?
I'm 48. So we'll see the calls start coming in here. Here it is, popped in over here. See if I can drag it. No, I'll just answer. Okay, cool. So I just answered the call over here. And this is what people expect in Teams. So think about it from this perspective. This is when somebody says we integrate with Teams, this is what you get. Maybe there's a picture there, but you get this blank screen, and you can do all the transfers and stuff there. But what Dialpad adds on top of that is I've got a live transcription happening as this call is going on. Now, this is great, and all this information is captured and available in the back end, but I can do even more. Because we're listening in real time and watching this in real time, I can say, if somebody on the call says something, what's your Microsoft Teams integration look like? I can get a pop-up on here. It'll give me, my hands are still here, guys. It'll give me an assist card pop-up that's telling me the basic integration. How do I answer that question? How do I sell against that? Meanwhile, and even giving a clickable link to go to while on a Microsoft Teams call. So adding this Dialpad functionality to your inbound and outbound PSTN calls into Microsoft Teams that's fully trackable on the back end.
So, but this is crazy. I mean, you guys charge a ton for this. I mean, it's ludicrous. You guys shouldn't charge. I think you guys should put this in your core offering.
Yeah,
softball,
that's where it is.
Softball.
I know. Yeah, it is. We absolutely do not charge for any voice intelligence, and I'll even jump over to analytics here in a moment. But it's all inclusive in the Dialpad platform, whether you're using our UCaaS, what we call Talk, whether you're using our contact center, our sales dialer, or even Uber Conference, our collaboration platform, VI across the whole thing. And I'll go ahead and end this call, but I can even pop in here and look at analytics across all my calls, look at them across an entire office, see all the calls that are coming into this office, and I can even circulate based on keywords. So I can even get granular and say, okay, how many times is Microsoft popping up on calls, right? And I can even, as Craig alluded to, right, I can even decide, do I want that the customer or the agent or seller that's doing that, right? And bring up that information and bring that number down. So it'll crunch the numbers, it'll come through. And now I just dropped it down to 37 calls, which I can look at. I can look at these calls. I can see voice intelligence and things that are tied around those. We can even tie in moments, so I'll let that build, but we're even looking at things like sentiment. Like you click like positive sentiment here, it's going to give me all the calls with positive sentiment, and it'll further get granular. So it's looking at transcripts, keywords across the whole entire platform.
I think one of the eye openers for me was when you guys introduced this. It's like, what's a contact center? Granted, we sell Genesis, we sell Incon, we sell all that stuff. And we used to think of the traditional contact center as this inbound only, as this, tech support or that. But what you guys have proven to us is that the sales team themselves should be a contact center, and the outbound, MQLs, marketing, and, the BDRs, business development reps, they need this, which is a contact center more than anybody. So as much as it's cool for the inbound text, this is like powering the next generation sales force and allowing the sales manager to be so much more efficient, so much more powerful. Right, Craig, I think maybe you hit me over the head with that one. Like, listen, let me just show this to you.
Yeah.
Give me 30 seconds on that.
Yeah, no, and if you think of it, your BDRs, your SDRs are on the calls, they're talking to prospects, they're handling objections left and right. And oftentimes they're relatively junior, straight out of college type employees. So it's not like they've been, doing outbound selling forever. So when they get an objection and you're able to pop up a card or a battle card of like, someone says, how are you guys different from Ring Central? And right up on the screen, it's like, here's how you answer that question. That is super powerful, and it helps that sales rep actually, get better and get trained the more they use it. The other thing too is you can have, and this was the first demo I saw from Talk IQ, but they had for every sales call, they wanted them to do 4 things: make sure that there was budget for it, make sure there was the guy had the authority to make the decision, check on what the timing was. And it literally would sit there.
Bant. Did you just go throw a bant on me?
I just threw a bant on you.
You forgot knees. The N is knees.
I know. But like literally it would check off each one as the rep went through it. And so if you're a sales manager at the end of the month, you're like, show me who's complying with the sales process that I want them to use. And if there's someone who isn't, or if someone's not doing well and they're not following, the training, you have that data immediately, and you don't have to go listen to 1,000 calls to figure it out. You can literally just see it on a scorecard.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Hey, a couple questions from Q&A. So I don't know if we'll be able to answer this perfectly on this one, but what is the outlook for interoperability between video conferencing vendors and enhanced chat in the future? Or are we forever locked into proprietary ecosystems?
The problem with
I don't see anybody doing chat interoperability on the videos right now. I mean, I see like hardware, like Life Size and Poly and everybody kind of doing these open architectures and working on everybody else's core system. Craig, what do you say?
This goes all the way back to my Yahoo days. Like, people used to always be like, why can't Yahoo Messenger talk to Microsoft Messenger, talk to Skype? Why are they all these different ones? And the problem is the person with the largest network doesn't want to interoperate with the people with a smaller network. And so it's never going to happen.
Right. I mean, I think we've seen some hardware interoperability, which is nice, even on the phone level for you guys, even on the video conferencing hardware level for what I do. So there is some stuff happening. Hopefully there's hope. Hopefully there's hope.
Like, I would love to be able to go into a room that has a video conferencing hardware setup and be able to use Uber Conference or Zoom or Microsoft or Google or Teams. Like, the hardware should be pretty much the same. That's the future that I think is
bring your own conferencing. It's kind of there, but you got to have an HDMI or this little sharing ring, and it's just not ubiquitous. Yeah. I get it. Another question, pretty easy answer. Is it only the agent that can see the call information, or can a contact or supervisor see it? Obviously, if a contact supervisor can click on and look at anybody in real time, or get notified when sentiment, keyword, problems, escalation, those things are happening, they can be notified. So I think I got it right.
And one of the cool things about a supervisor is you get a dashboard of all the live calls, and you'll see the real-time sentiment. So a lot of times supervisors will go listen in on calls. Now they'll know which ones to go listen in on, or at least check the transcript and see what's going on.
This one's for you, Craig. I thought when T-Mobile acquired Sprint, they decided to move forward with Sprint's cloud-based solution. Is that already Dialpad?
No, they killed it all. They're 100%. The only UCaaS solution they're selling is Dialpad. So the Sprint second line thing, I think it was called, is no more.
Crazy. And then does this application satisfy any compliance requirements? You guys got a good answer here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of businesses where you need compliance, you need to record calls, you need to have, trade confirmations and any of those types of things. This gives you that, because we do automatic call recording as well, but having the transcript and the searchable transcript is even better. So we are seeing a lot of applications, even in like things like on the medical side, where doctors are trying to take notes when they're doing their video conferencing or their cloud or their meetings with their patients virtually. Now they don't have to, because they literally get a transcript of every call. So there's a lot of times where just on the note-taking side, it's golden.
And what about, I heard somebody explain it to me too, that, on recording a phone call, you actually have to tell them you're doing this, but because you're doing a transcription of the call in real time and there's some accuracy thing, something, it doesn't hold up in a court of law or something, you don't have to tell them. Am I missing it or am I getting it?
Yeah. So the wiretapping laws in the United States are, every state requires at least one party to know that the call is being recorded, and 12 states require both parties to be notified. So California is a two-party state. So if you're ever on a call that's being recorded, you'll either hear a beep every 30 seconds, or you'll hear when you come on, this call will be recorded for quality and training purposes. On the transcription side, though, since we're doing it in real time, and if you don't record the call, we don't give you a recording. There is no recording being made. It's just an automated note-taking system. And I wish it were 100% accurate to be to the point where it would be admissible, but it's not. So it is different from the requirements of the wiretapping.
I also, crazy tangent. Is it where the call is actually happening, or is it where the recording is actually taking place? Because I've heard some of these cloud providers putting their whole core in like Mississippi, where it's only one side needs it, and they skirt around the law, even though the call is actually in California, but the switching, I don't know. We're going on a tangent now.
I've always thought it was where the parties are physically located.
Yeah, that makes sense, but everybody's trying to skirt something. Okay, we got 10 minutes left. I think we get on to one of the reasons why we had this call was Microsoft, right? The gorilla in the room. Love them and hate them, fight them, love them, hug them. I don't know what the right answer. It's a little bit of everything. Where do you fit in the Microsoft next generation teams, and how do you play nice, and how do you fight them? And love to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, well, if Microsoft has kind of a tortured past in the business communications world, particularly on the voice side, right? Like they used to have Microsoft Link, which was their on-premise PBX. Then they rebranded it Skype for Business, and they were going to move it all to the cloud and offer services worldwide. And then they fired all the executives of that team, and then they rolled it under Microsoft Teams, which was more their Slack competitor. And and I think this kind of goes to, and this is very similar to like Google Voice for Enterprise. Voice for Enterprise, or UCaaS and CCaaS, is very difficult to do, and it's very complex. And that's not necessarily Microsoft's strength or Google's strength. And that's why we've been, our view is, let's have the best integration possible with Office 365 and with G Suite. Let's make it work really, really nice. And if someone wants to use Teams or someone wants to use Slack, let's integrate into Slack or integrate into Teams. And if that's the interface they want to be in front of when they make their calls, God bless them. You can do whatever you want. We're just going to play as nicely as humanly possible. I think we've seen over the last, 7 or 8 years since they announced Skype for Business that they've kind of keep going back and forth on whether they want to go compete with carriers or partner with carriers or all these other things. They just have a more complex business. They need, worldwide, the carriers sell Microsoft Office quite a bit in a lot of bundled partnerships. So for them to go compete with those carriers for their business customers has always been a little bit of a challenge. So they've always been a little helter-skelter or a little schizophrenic on what they want to do, but go kill it on Teams. That's awesome. They include it with every office seat. Everyone, this is how you do it when you're a monopolist, right? You just include stuff that everyone starts using it because it's included for free. And we just live in that world, and we're going to integrate with it and make it as good as possible. And I think the demo Jeff showed you was, hey, even if you're living in this horrible Teams interface, you're going to get this great Dialpad everywhere, little floater on the side that's going to make it a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, let's keep going, right? So I'll take over for a bit and toss it back to you. Is, Microsoft has never been dedicated to the voice world. They've been in and they've been out. They've been in and out, and the enterprises are pissed, right? They want Teams to be telephony enabled, and Microsoft did it, and they can do it for $8 to turn on the dialer, and they can do it for another $12 for a PSTN dialing plan, and it kind of works. But what's happening is it doesn't work all the time. It's very complex. There's no support. There's no partner.
Yeah.
Biggest thing, there's no redundancy. There's very lacking of international.
Yeah.
So, they opened up the keys, which is great. I love it. This new direct routing thing where you guys become the carrier of Microsoft Teams. You bypass the Microsoft network, you take the call, and now you're the carrier for them. What does that offer you guys? In my eyes, like, you guys are, I think it was like 64 different countries for international, Microsoft's 12, right? Yeah. So now you can put Teams dial tone into the across the country. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You guys had better service, better account management. There's someone on this call, one of the viewers on our call today. They got hit with a $24,000 bill from Microsoft to prove that the problem within the call path was not theirs. And they proved that it was Microsoft, but they still had to pay the 24 grand. That doesn't happen in our world. We're not allowed to. Microsoft's allowed to do that.
Yeah.
One of the fun things I see. Go ahead. Were you gonna?
I was gonna say we actually have to care about our customers and really want to make them successful and happy.
What we're also seeing in the Microsoft world is this lack of feature set, right? They do a lot of things well, but they don't do kind of what you said earlier. Some of the traditional things that you expect phone systems to do, it doesn't do. Obviously UCaaS is the first part. So we see a lot of our customers doing this hybrid where I can have some people on Teams and some people on the UCaaS, CCaaS solution, and they're, tied together through your core offering and making that all work. And my favorite is Teams goes down. It's gone down twice in the last month or 6 weeks, I think. Yeah. You guys control the DID. You guys control the routing. The Dialpad client can still be running.
Yeah, exactly right. Your phone's
a lot of cool stuff. Jeff, I don't know if you've got anything to show on that. We talked through it pretty well, but if you got something that is any other integrations you can show, we'd love to see it.
You know what? Here, let me share my screen really quick here. 1 second here. What I was just going to show you is how easy, we talked a lot about voice intelligence and contact center, but let me just show you here how easy it is to build out that voice intelligence. You don't need to be a programmer to do this. You don't need to know how to code in JSON and APIs and stuff. This stuff's all built for you. So those pop-up cards are built right into the application here, where you can just come in, name it, put what the content you want, and then put the words that trigger those pop-ups, like I had for Microsoft Teams. But even better, we even predefine some templates for you as well, where we're filling some of this stuff, filling some of the words, and you put your own content in there and away you go. So that's one of those things that's easy to see. The other thing I'll say is when you're looking at any contact center, this is where we define how to build a contact center, how to add users, how to do any of your routing is all in the same interface. So it's just important to see how easy it is to use, how easy it is to add new users, to add different call routing, to change this to skills-based routing kind of on the fly. These type of things are all encompassed in the same solution, where I was just here looking at analytics here earlier. I just go right to the admin settings, right into the contact center, and program my system. So just really easy to use and intuitive.
That's very cool. Thank you. One last thing on the, a testament to you guys and your integration prowess and dedication to doing things right. you know, there's different types of direct routing integrations to Microsoft, right? Most of the people are using this third-party cloud SBC as this integrator called Call to Teams, and you got to give them $2 or $3. And granted, they're doing a lot for those $2 or $3, but it's $2 or $3 on a $12 thing. That's a lot of profit. And the integration is up to them. You guys have chosen to use your own SBC and do your own direct routing right to Microsoft. So you are truly your own direct routing partner, deeper relationship with Microsoft. It just takes it to the next level. To me, that just shows your dedication, as opposed to like, oh, let's just do it with these third parties. No, we're going to Microsoft. If we're in, we're in. Yeah. Is there some truth to that? What do you say?
No, there's total truth to that. And I think, you know, like, it's, even though we're a product-led company, it's an deep engineering culture. So, you know, coming out of Google, the guy who runs our telephony platform used to run the Microsoft Windows Phone 7 team. Like, Caltech type engineer is going to do it the right way. It's going to scale. It's going to always work. It's going to be as efficient as humanly possible. Like, it's funny that I get to talk to all these really intelligent people like, hey man, just make it happen. And they actually go and make it happen the right way. And legitimately that Teams integration is one example, but like the amount of money it saves us to do it the right way, and the greater control and quality we can have, and fewer dependencies of something to be able to break. Man, it's not just the right way, but it's the right business decision too.
Cool. Dude, Craig, Jeff, you guys are awesome. How do we want to wrap this up? I mean, I can say some, but I'd love for you to 30 seconds, bring it home.
30 seconds, bring it home. Yeah, the world, listen, over the next 5 years, you guys are selling all this stuff. Every company, you know, believe me, Zoom's going to try to get into UCaaS. They're going to try to get into CCaaS. They're going to try to get into AI. Ring's going to build their own CCaaS. They're going to try to make their video conferencing thing actually work. They're going to try to get into AI. The world's going to get to this consolidated world. I'm calling it Pangea. It's all going to be sort of consolidated.
Nice.
We're going to get there first, and we're going to start hammering away at it. Like, as of, you're going to see Uber Conference and High Five go away at the end of the summer. It's just going to be part of Dialpad. It'll be Dialpad meetings, but it's all included in a single app.
Okay, so you're going to do this next year. We're going to have this webinar, maybe in the end of the year, we're going to have this webinar, but we're going to do it on your product.
That'd be fantastic.
All right, cool. Jeff, thank you. Craig, you're awesome. Thanks for taking the time and spending with us. So thanks again, guys. Appreciate your time.
Right on. Thanks, Matt.
Bye, guys.